never everybody's choice for a football game. All the other guys would laugh at me and say, look at him, he's got a small frame. But then somebody would feel sympathy. They would point to me and I would get to play. Although I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. I was never all the ladies' choice for a boyfriend. I know that's hard to believe. I was the one they would pass by, trying to get to the captain of the football team. But now good men are few and far between, and they notice me, but it is too late. Although I wasn't all the ladies' choice, I was chosen anyway. Yeah. Counted out and done without, I was thought to be second string. Overlooked and underfoot, and I'd been called worst thing. Folks that said I was no good, when God raised me up, they turned around and said, I knew you would. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Counted out and done without, I was thought to be second string. I was overlooked, I was underfoot, and I'd been called so many worse things. Folks that told me that I was no good, when God raised me up, they changed their talk and said, I knew you would. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. I was never everybody's choice for a football game. All the other guys would laugh at me and say, look at him, he's got a small frame. But then somebody would feel sympathy. They would point to me and I would get to play. Although I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. I was never all the ladies' choice for a boyfriend. I know that's hard to believe. I was the one they would pass by, trying to get to the captain of the football team. But now good men are few and far between, and they notice me, but it is too late. Although I wasn't all the ladies' choice, I was chosen anyway. Yeah. Counted out and done without, I was thought to be second string. Overlooked and underfoot, and I'd been called worst thing. Folks that said I was no good, when God raised me up, they turned around and said, I knew you would. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Counted out and done without, I was thought to be second string. I was overlooked, I was underfoot, and I'd been called so many worse things. Folks that told me that I was no good, when God raised me up, they changed their talk and said, I knew you would. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Though I wasn't the people's choice, I was chosen. I was never everybody's choice for a football game. All the other guys would laugh at me and say, look at him, he's got a small frame. But then somebody would feel sympathy, they would point to me and I would get to play. Although I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. I was never all the ladies' choice for a boyfriend. I know that's hard to believe. I was the one they would pass by, trying to get to the captain of the football team. But now good men are few and far between, and they notice me, but it is too late. Although I wasn't all the ladies' choice, I was chosen anyway. Hey. Counted out and done without, I was thought to be second string. Overlooked and underfoot, and I'd been called worse things. Folks that said I was no good, when God raised me up, they turned around and said, I knew you would. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Counted out and done without, I was thought to be second string. I was overlooked, I was underfoot, and I'd been called so many worse things. Folks that told me that I was no good, when God raised me up, they changed their talk and said, I knew you would. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Though I wasn't everybody's choice, I was chosen anyway. Though I wasn't the people's choice, I was chosen anyway.
Hello. Hey, we're live here. We're live here tonight. Good evening, everyone. If you're on Facebook viewing us, if you're on YouTube viewing us, we thank you for joining us. We've got some good conversation here tonight at Voices Rising Up, right? Really good conversation tonight. I'm Pastor Henry Razor, and I'm going to be part of this discussion tonight. And I want to thank everyone. I just want to say, if you got an opportunity now, just share this. We're going to be talking tonight about great transition. I think it's a topic and a conversation that we need to have, and it's a conversation that needs to be ongoing in our church. And I'm joined tonight by my friend and my brother from a long time ago and from a lot of years, none other than Pastor Rodney Jones, pastor of New Nations Church of God in Christ. Pastor, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit to us?
Bless you, and thank you, Pastor Razor. Thank you for the invite, and what a pleasure and an honor it is for me to be here on tonight. To me, this is a beginning of another start of something that should take place. I think it's been a long time coming, and I thank God for you even initiating this, And I think that this is a great start, and I think we need to go further. There need to be shifts and phases of this because we need to find out what's really going on and really what direction that we're going in and what's really going on because so many people are shifting off of the scene. And my question is, are we ready for the next phase of what's to happen?
All right, Pastor Rodney. We're gonna actually talk about that tonight. We've had people already. We've already had quite a few questions that were submitted online and on the internet. You know, when this sometimes I get inspiration. And get inspired in the night. And when this inspiration came to me, you were the first person to come. You know, your name, your just came up. Say, no, let's have a talk about this because,
Sure.
as you said, it's long overdue. It's something that we need to talk about. It's something that we should be dealing with. Look, I want to say to you all tonight, share this. You can join the conversation. Call 312-798-9352. That's 312-798-9352. We're going to be reading your comments, but if we like for you to call in, and you can call in and share your feelings and share your thoughts and share what you have on this. But at the number, you'll see it. It's there on the screen. 312-798-9352. You can call in 312-798-9352. But we're talking about the Great Transition. And it's something, you know, Pastor Rodney, you and I, we're probably in the same age group.
Yes, sir.
And we grew up same time. We're not talking about any specific organization or
Correct.
any specific denomination or anything, even though I know you grew up in Church of God in Christ First Jurisdiction here, right?
Yes, sir.
I grew up in Church of God in Christ First Jurisdiction in Arkansas.
Wow.
And then when I came here, I was part of First Jurisdiction, but it's not one particular organization that we're talking about because
That's right.
as we just go back over the past few years, and then we'll go back maybe 2 or 3 years, the giants, the pillars.
Yes, sir.
That we call them generals.
Generals.
Right? The pillars of the church, the foundations that we knew growing up, right? They begin to transition.
Yes.
And I know this year we've seen, I can speak for myself, is that I've seen more of these people transition this year.
Yes, sir.
Than I ever have in any short time period
That's
in
right.
my life. I mean, it just seems like there's been one that's after the other, that's after the other, that's after the other, that's after the other, and it becomes obvious.
Yes.
That there is a transition in the church.
That's right.
That there's a time the leadership is changing, right? The leadership is changing. Maybe the roles of the church is changing.
Could be.
Someone asked that church, right?
Correct. Yes.
Maybe the roles of the church is changing. And so Pastor Rodney, what's your feeling then on this as we look at the changes that are occurring?
I think one thing leadership or the pillars or the generals of the church have to recognize is everyone has been called to leadership for 2 things. Number 1, to lead. Number 2, to lead in a season or during a season. But then leadership need to understand, or the pillars or the structure has to understand that anything that has a beginning has an end. So if you have been placed there, you're only there for a season.
Okay.
Which means rather than die out, leave out, step out, quit out, or whatever, you need to be preparing someone else to replace you.
Okay. 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 So preparation.
Preparation.
Preparation is what I'm hearing from you.
Yes,
right?
sir. Completely.
Preparation. We should be preparing
Preparing
someone,
to replace
right
us.
Right now. So it's not my church.
It's not correct.
You know.
It's not. We don't own it.
We don't own it.
We didn't purchase it with our blood.
Okay. It's not my church. What does a church leader look like? What does a leader look like today? And contrast that to what a leader looked like when we were coming up.
Y'all ain't gonna like me if I tell you what a leader looks like today. Now, you remember when Jesus says he didn't come to be ministered to, he came to minister. the leaders and the structure of our church back in what we call back in the day, the pillars, these were statesmen, they were servants, they were chief servants. They served the people, they invested in the people, they trained the people, they taught the people, they cared for the people. They had what we call the heart of a shepherd. What it looks like in this day and time is leadership wants to be catered to. Now, rather than, and I say this, and I love the humility of Jesus, he said it himself. Now, he's the greatest leader that has ever lived. Yet, just a few Sunday school lessons ago, we found him washing the disciples' feet.
Okay.
Nowhere did you see where the disciples washed each other's feet, nor Jesus' feet, including Uncle Peter, who wanted to rebuke Jesus, yet he didn't get down and wash Jesus' feet. No, we don't see them washing no other one's feet. So the leadership, we look at Bishop Mason, we look at Jesus, we look at other founders, because I agree with you, it's not about a denominational thing. I look at other founders, how they cared for the people, and everything they did was surrounding or centered around the people. Leadership, it looks like in today's time, is all about themselves.
It's all about them. Okay. I'm going to go right to the questions. We have some questions, and this question came from Sister Michelle Phillips on online.
Yeah,
she
she
said,
sounds familiar.
What is happening? Okay, and we're going to go through all these questions because people have been submitting questions
Yes.
throughout the day. We're going to go through as many of them as we possibly can.
Sure.
But she asked, "What is happening here?" I think when I consider what's actually occurring now, it's not unusual for people to transition.
Correct.
You know, and throughout my life in the church, I've always seen people transition. I've always, it's always been evident. You've always seen that at some point in time a leader dies and someone else has to take it up, and the leader dies, and not even just leaders, and when I say leaders, I'm not talking about just people with positions.
Correct.
Because in the church there were mothers and elders, deacons that didn't have any positions, but
Right.
they were leaders because
That's
they
right.
led by example.
Correct.
They showed us how to live.
That's it.
And we respected them before that because of that, right? So it was, but it wasn't unusual for these people to transition and to move on. Maybe one, maybe two a year. But we went through a time period earlier this year
Yes.
where I really dreaded opening up social media.
Wow.
Because every time we opened up, there was an announcement
That's right.
that someone had transitioned and that someone had moved on and that someone had gone on. And so when I see so many in such a short time period, I have to question and wonder, is God doing something?
Right.
Is God setting up something? Is he establishing something? Is he setting something? Is he pulling something together? Is there a portion of his plan that's actually being worked out now? So she asked, what's happening with this transition? It's my belief that God is moving the church to another phase. And the people that brought us to the phase that we're in now, they're getting ready, they're being able to go and relax in the presence of the Lord.
Yes.
And now it's incumbent on this next group
Yes.
to actually take us to the next level. And to be leaders within the next phase. How do you feel about it?
You know what? I agree. You remember when it was time for Jesus to be born? And there was a man that set a decree that everybody was to go and be taxed. Now, had we not had scripture, we never would have known that the real purpose for them being taxed or having to go that direction was to fulfill prophecy.
Okay.
So right now, because we don't know the plan of God, a lot of this could be prophecy being fulfilled.
Okay.
Now, it was told to me the other day that we literally shifted centuries because of this pandemic.
Okay.
It's as if it caused us to have to hurry up and do what we're supposed to be doing right now. Because we wasn't, just last year, you was already doing this. Many spoke against it. Now, overnight, they have been forced to do it.
Yes.
The church in the book of Acts were kind of on the lazy side. And so God had to set a fire under them. And what happens is we grow under pressure. And right now what's happening is we are not necessarily in a transition, we're already in the change.
We're already in the change. Okay.
And so change is not bad. People are not technically afraid of change, they're afraid of transitioning into change.
Okay.
And this pandemic has forced us to not just transition, this pandemic has forced us to change overnight.
And you know what? And like you said, we were doing this. I thank God for this. Like a week before COVID actually hit, the Lord put it on me to have a healing service.
Wow, yes.
And we had a healing service in here, and we laid hands upon people. And that week, it seemed like everybody had flu-like symptoms and stuff, but they went mild and they went away.
Yes, yes.
And as we began to know, people would come to me and say, Pastor, man, you know what God did when he told you to have a healing service?
Wow.
And how he brought us, how he protected us, and how he swept through the church. And then before that, we started this online and started ministering and started talking and started doing, not knowing
What was going to happen?
what was going to happen, not knowing how God was going to move, that it was going to be required. Not only was I doing it, but we formed an organization of what we call the Christ-Centered Churches, C3F, Christ-Centered Churches Fellowship, the Fellowship of Christ-Centered Churches. And I was going around to every one of those pastors that was part of our fellowship and showing them how to stream online and showing them how to get up online and do it, because I'm saying we're going to need this. Not knowing how God was going to move.
Yep. Overnight.
Not knowing what God was going to do, but God was preparing us and preparing things like that. And so when you say what is happening, it's pretty, and we answer a question, it's the most obvious and the most consistent answer is that, look, there's a transition happening.
That's going on right now. Yes,
There's
sir.
a transition. And you all can call in at 312-798-9352. We'd like to hear what you have to say on this. There's a transition happening. But the church could not remain
Correct.
in
its current
state when the world is changing.
Because the church was sitting still
Exactly.
or trying to identify with the world.
Exactly.
And now I have to say this. I'm just like you. I had gotten our equipment a year or two ago. And I kept sitting in different rooms. How? Green screen. How? Lights. How can this? How can that? And when all of this hit, the how-to was overnight.
Right.
Now, what's going on is the Bible speaks about the Holy Spirit will show you things to come. You know what was unique about you? You listen to him. He will show you things to come. Now, he may not have revealed the pandemic to you, but he placed in your spirit an urgency to do something because God knows the time, man doesn't.
That's right.
So what's going on? We're in a double pandemic. The church is in the pandemic and the world is in the pandemic.
And so that's what's happening.
That's what's happening.
And the church could not remain. The people that got us here, and I'm going to say this, and you can call in and disagree, but the people who got us here,
Yes, sir.
didn't have the energy
Right.
to take us. Moses had to go off the scene so Joshua
could do it.
young guy could come in. Or if I bring it to you millennials, right? Doug Collins had to be fired. He took a bad Bulls team and made them perennial winners.
Yes.
But they could never get past those playoff games. So they had to get Doug Collins out, bring Phil Jackson in.
Okay, now no.
And he said, okay, I can take the people, and then the rest is history.
Yes.
Now, I believe that the people who got us to where we are, that they got us here
Yeah, and that's all they could
And
do.
that's all they could do.
Right.
And a lot of times they didn't have the energy.
The strength
They didn't have the strength. They didn't have the education.
or the wisdom
Or the wisdom to get us to the next level.
or the anointing.
Exactly. That's a thing we don't want to leave out.
That's right.
The anointing, because of with all the strength, the wisdom, and all they know, if you don't have the anointing,
You can't do it.
you still can't do
That's
it.
right.
So there is a trend. There's a transition.
Yes, sir.
And our hearts goes out. Our heart goes out. I'll say this: the mantle falls, and that's what happens. The mantle falls.
Yes.
And when the mantle falls, all you need to be doing is saying, yes, Lord.
That's it.
And opening yourself up to the Lord. Now, here's the thing. The carrier, the current carrier of the mantle doesn't throw the mantle down
Correct.
to someone.
That's right.
It falls.
It falls.
And then the recipient of the mantle don't do like, you've been to the wedding when the bride throw that
Yes,
bouquet,
yeah,
and
yeah.
those women knock people out of the way to get to it, right? So the recipient of the mantle don't have to knock anybody out
That's
of the way.
right.
Doesn't have to push anybody. Or do it. All they have to do is just be there
Available.
available to God, and the mantle falls to them.
Correct.
And I see what we're seeing now is the mantle is falling.
It's falling.
Our prayer should be that the correct recipient
Of the mantle.
of the mantle
That's
receive
it.
it,
That's
because
it.
you're going to have people pushing you out of the way to get to the mantle. And we'll see.
I looked at Brother Eddie K. Phillips. He said, we're no longer taught transformational leadership where we mentor, influence, inspire, and develop new leaders. We must mentor and empower. Prior to Moses leaving off the scene, what was interesting to me, and I may have learned this from my Sunday school teacher, Minister Joe Phillips. That was a
great teacher.
Yeah, I just threw that in there.
That's a great teacher.
I may have learned this from him. When God told Moses, I'm finna take you out, you getting ready to die. Moses had one thing in his mind: who is going to be my successor? Because Moses, as a general, was thinking about the well-being of the people.
Okay.
God says to him, get Joshua. So 3 people knew before Moses died who was going to replace him.
Okay.
Moses knew it, Israel knew it, Joshua knew it,
Okay.
other than God. And he told Moses to take Joshua and I will magnify him before the people. And then when you get through, Moses, go up on that mountain. I want to show you your Christmas toys, but you ain't finna get them. And then you out of here. Now it's funny, he had to take Aaron out first.
Okay.
Because had Aaron been left here, there would have been some commotion in the house of Israel.
Yes.
Because see, Aaron was the people's boy. Because they told Aaron, up and make us some type of God, and Aaron did it.
And he did it.
I guarantee you Joshua wouldn't have done it. He'd have got his knife out, and it would have been chopped Israelites for dinner.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, I got you.
But what has happened is, Pastor, is leadership or the pillars or the generals, they die and they leave Aaron, her, and him, and all the rest of them fighting over who's going to be the replacement.
Okay. And so that's a lack, as Dr. Eddie Phillips said there. You said, I'm reading his comments right
Yes, sir.
there. We're no longer taught transformational leadership.
Yes.
It has been, and the church has been accused of trying to hold on too long.
That's right.
To leadership.
That's right. That's right.
And so I have to agree with you there, Dr. Eddie, and we're gonna try to get to all of your comments and all questions. Look, if we'd like for you to call in though, call in and join us in this conversation. So what's happening is a transitioning. We have another question here from Karen Odom. What should the saints be doing during this time of great transition? We see what's happening.
Yes.
Some of us appear to even have an understanding of what's happening.
Right.
So what should we be doing?
Well, first there's a double transition. There's the religious institute or entity, and then there is the non-religious entity that has transitioned.
Okay, hold on just a moment. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Could you give us your name, where you're calling from, and then let us know what you're talking about?
Hey, hi, this is Eddie Phillips. I'm giving you guys a call. I hit back to happy birthday, Pastor Jones. Happy birthday.
He said,
Bless you. Thank you, sir.
Oh, man. Because I'm kind of in transition right now, so y'all got to forgive me. But, I wanted to touch on, y'all talking about something that we need to talk about tonight. This transitional, this idea of leadership. Having a military background. I hope I'm not echoing. I'm trying to turn this phone down, but.
no, that's probably me with the echo because we don't have on headphones, so we're listening through you to a speaker and it's coming back to the microphone. But I tried to minimize it. That's okay.
I listen, and one of the major things that always sticks out to me, I've spent the years I've spent in the military. One of the things about us, leaders. I used to tell my guys all the time, leaders simply define the mission and the goal. My job, your job as a leader, if God blesses you to be a leader, is to have that goal. Whatever God sets you, wherever He's going to send you to. And He touches the people who are with you to follow you. And as you all said, that matter falls. And it falls on whoever God is going to choose to take it on. But I always think that there are certain things that we need to understand about leadership. I typed in that earlier. Inspirational. I look at Prophet Dr. Hattie B. Jones and what she's meant for my life, right? That inspiration to try to do and do what's right, to follow the word of God, right? And then it will transform those people who you are leading, right? Because then it makes them want to go and reach that mantle too. Everyone. And so.
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry, as I said, I'm in transition. So, but my point that I wanted to call y'all tonight is say, preach on with that. It needs to be talked about. We are losing a lot of the way makers, the forefathers, the people who have stood in the gap. And so, the last thing I wanted to say that I don't think we touched on, like situational. Situational leadership is the fact that now that those have left, we are in a situation with this pandemic, with everything that's going on, where we have to adapt, and we have to be willing to fail in the adaptation, so that those who we are leading can understand that failure is going to happen, but it does not have to stop us. And that's what I wanted to leave y'all with tonight. Love you all. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you for your call. Thank you for your call. He made some clear points and some very good points.
Yes,
right?
yes,
The
yes.
mantle's going to fall, and I think he had made the comment online also that you were just talking about, transformational leadership.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And the people God gives us, I think a really clear point that he makes is that the leader has the people in mind, right?
Correct.
Concern for the people. God gives those people, and those people concerned with you, right? Right. And so we actually do a disservice to people if we don't prepare
That's right.
because we're not going to be here. We could actually fall dead right now.
Right now.
Right? So we're not going to be here. And if you know it, because we grew up kind of in the same environment. I was
That's
in
right.
Arkansas, you were here.
Yeah.
But the one thing I learned that as a pastor, you cannot be the person that do everything
Right.
all the time.
That's right.
You can't be the one that's out front all the time.
All the time.
You got to trust the people. You got to delegate. And that was hard for me because when I was a manager, I used to take the position of if I know it's gonna be done right if I
do it, yeah.
And I had my director come to me and say, these are the things we need done, and I don't want you to do them. That's what I said. You cannot constantly
He's right.
do this and do this. You gotta delegate and let other people
That's
do things
right.
because you have to have a team, right?
That's right.
So a very, very clear point that he makes there is that the mantle falls, the people are going to be, we have to be concerned about the people
That's
as
right.
leaders.
That's right.
So what should we be doing then?
Right now, we should be training.
Okay.
I'm a journeyman carpenter, and I'll never forget, I'll make it brief. working with some apprentices. Now, an apprentice is equivalent to a laborer. Now, these apprentices they had on their belts, but they were always dumping the garbage, sweeping, throwing out the trash, unloading trucks. So I asked them, hey, why? And he said, because I went to their boss. And I said, at what point are you going to allow them to work? He said, well, they are apprentices. I said, exactly. The minute they become carpenters, they will be no good. Because as an apprentice, you as a head carpenter, you're supposed to train them how to operate.
Okay.
Even a pastor should be training membership. I love delegation. Now, it's very difficult to delegate. But I'll tell you one thing I read in the Bible, Exodus, when the Amalekites came up against the children of Israel, Moses didn't get his gun and go to battle. Moses called Joshua and told Joshua to go get men to go to battle.
Okay.
Joshua had to find men and help them to be equipped for the battle, even if he had to train them how to hold a gun. The problem is leadership go off the scene and they don't do what Jesus did. Before Jesus died, he trained those 11 disciples.
Yes, he did.
When you see all the miracles that Peter, James, and John did, those were some of the same things that Jesus did. Rose up a woman from the dead, healed a person from this, did that. So they did exactly what they saw leadership do. In this day and time, what we need to do is train the people of God.
Okay.
The position that we're in now, we're in, what is that called it when we're in trouble, when the world is in trouble? State of something. We're in a state of emergency.
Wow, that's that. Yeah.
We're in a state of, so now we don't even have time for the baby stuff. We've got to get the real grits and the real soul food on the table overnight and train people for battle
Okay, so that's
right
what
now.
we should be doing as pastors, and what should the people be doing that's sitting in the pews? Because they're looking at, because here's what happens. You've seen this over and over like I do, right? As soon as the leader does, the people scatter.
They're gone. It's exactly.
You'll get 15 of them say that the Lord told me to start a ministry, and then they'll want to take.
That's
they'll
right.
wanna take 15 or 20 people with them.
That's it.
So now, what should the people that are in the pews? What should they be doing?
First thing the people need to do is learn.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Learn from those who have been placed over you to train you. Accept leadership, accept the training, and the main thing that people should be doing, which they should have been doing all the time, is to tap into the will of God.
Oh, there you are.
They need to be praying, fasting, studying, worshiping, and praising, because if they are spirit-led, the Bible says the Holy Spirit will show you things to come. That means the people who are in the audience need to be filled with the Spirit of the Lord so that they can know what to do, because you may not be available all the time.
Okay. Okay. I hear you there. We had a question here from Sister Kelly Kendra Wiley. Why? Oh, this is I really want to hear you here, Pastor Jones. Why are the people of
God so resistant to change?
Why are the people of God? Look, as he goes, you can call in 312-798-9352. Call in. Join the conversation. We welcome you. Join the conversation. I know we had storms out here today, and there may be some bandwidth issues, but Comcast is doing what they can. But we've got you streaming here. But if you want to call in and make your point, call in, let us know who you are. Talk to us. That's what we want to do. Talk to us. So, Pastor Rodney,
Yes, sir.
The question is, why are the people of God so resistant to change?
Fear is the number one thing.
Okay.
There are two types of people in your church. They're spirit mind and they're fleshly, what we call carnal-minded people. The spirit-minded people, you're not too much worried about them. They got the message. Those are your pillars. They're going to say, Pastor, we got you. Let's go. Those are your Joshuas and your Calebs. But then you got the other 10 who, regardless of how much you talk to them, they just babies. They've never really get the meat of the word, so they never get the strength. So people are afraid of change because one thing what people are afraid of is I can't control. You know, it's easier for us to accept something that we can control. The minute it takes out of your hand as a change, you're afraid of it because you don't have nothing to do with it. You can't handle it. You're going to resist it. And we always resist the unknown.
Okay.
And then we got what we call a comfort zone. The church got caught up in a comfort zone. Now, when you look in the book of Acts, the first chapter, the 8th verse, he said, you shall be witnesses unto me, unto Judea, to Jerusalem, and othermost parts of the earth. The only way it happened is because Paul wreaked havoc over the church.
Okay.
Because the church had got kind of comfortable. But soon as he started persecuting the church, then they start scattering. Then the Bible said, and wherever they went, they preached the gospel. What we're afraid of change and we resist it is because we don't know what it's going to do. Number two, we get so used to our comfort zone, and who wants to move out of a comfort zone?
Okay. I like that. You can. I want to encourage you all to call in. We'll put you on the air. But look. Okay. What about this? What about this, Pastor Rodney? A lot of the resistance to change is because of the hierarchies that have been built in the church.
Good. I like that.
So if I fall in line and I'm next, and I'm preparing myself, change may mean that I may not be the best prepared for the next step. So I may need to step aside and allow someone that's more qualified than I am. That's better equipped for this than I am, and someone that God has assigned. So the church, there is nothing structurally in the black community. There is nothing with more organizational structures than the church.
That's right.
People that's been on the ushers board and they've been assistant for the last 15 years, and they just been waiting to be the head usher. Right? And so when their time comes, all this change may be going on around them.
Yes.
And they may not be the best.
Correct.
For what's coming up. But because I've waited all this time and it's my time.
Yeah, we can't change now.
We can't change. We can't change.
Right.
So the hierarchy and the structures that have been built in the church and in the black church and in our community is such that it resists change.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
It resists change. And so what you have is we have a lot of churches that are still preaching the messages of the 60s and the 70s. We still have worship services like the 60s or the 70s. And here we are in 2020.
Wow, yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying that it's good or bad.
Correct.
Right? But it was
nothing has changed.
It was my turn, right?
Yeah.
Now the whole world has changed.
Correct.
And the whole world. Look. I grew up. I went back, and I will bring up one of the. You know, when I grew up, there was a big thing on what women can wear in the church.
Yes. And you're right.
What men could do.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happened was, while those things were being put out. Generations in the church, they grew up and they left. They didn't leave God. They left the church.
They was accused of leaving God.
They was accused of leaving God, but they didn't leave God. They left the church, right? And they left the church because the church wouldn't change.
Correct.
But there was ministries coming up on the scene.
Yes, sir.
That had their ear to the throne and listening, and those people went there. I went home, and one of the deacons, Deacon Alexander he said, Razor is totally different. He said, we don't have the young people like we had when you
Wow.
And he said, you know what? We never had a right to tell people what they should wear.
He's correct.
We have never had a right, and we did those things. And he said, we ran them all.
Yeah, he's correct.
See, so the hierarchy and the organization structure itself it's built to not change.
Yes, correct.
And I think we take that scripture, Jesus Christ the same
Yesterday and
today,
right, and forever.
And we take that and misapply it.
Yes, sir.
Because the world is not the same.
No, ain't nothing the same.
The people that we're trying to reach are not the same. They're not doing the same thing.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
And so we have to actually have our ear to the throne. And so I think a lot of the resistance to change is based upon the fact that the structure is not built for change. You know, it's not, especially in our church, it's not built for change. It's built, and now, don't get me wrong. There is something to be said with if it's broke, if it's not broke,
don't fix it.
Don't fix it.
Right, right.
But when you look at it, how can we say it's not broke?
Right.
How can you say there's not a malfunction at least somewhere?
Somewhere, yeah.
Somewhere. And so as these mantles falling, and maybe God had to take people away
I believe that.
so that the mantle could fall upon people who were prepared for this next generation.
That's what he did
and
with
for
Elijah.
This next level. And look, everything has changed. Even the prosperity preachers don't preach what Reverend Ike used to preach.
Oh, no. But Reverend Ike had to die so it can change.
Yeah, and Reverend Ike had to be taken out of the way so that they can do it.
That's right.
You know,
You still can't lose with the tools you use.
you know, but I sincerely believe that a lot of these leaders, God are taking them out and bringing them home.
Correct.
To glory.
Right.
From glory to reward. He's bringing them home. Why? So that the next generation
Can do what's supposed to be done.
See, I view a lot of things, and everybody that know me know that I'm very vocal.
Yes.
And I see things, but I see things through a lens, through a lens that when I was younger, I grew up in the South, and I grew up in prejudice and discrimination.
Yes.
You know, people have died in my family just trying to vote. And people have died. I remember just people getting beat, just trying to. So I see things through those lenses, right? So I know that. So what I do at our church is I'm pushing Pastor Lonnie and Pastor Leonard to because this new generation is more colorblind than anything. And I'm not. You know, I don't necessarily judge people on color, but a lot of that stuff, you know, are scars from the past.
I understand that.
And so I push these younger.
Wow, that's a good point.
You all come into the forefront.
Yeah.
You all take the leadership roles. You know, boom, boom, boom. I may have to go and sit to the side and just be a situational person that does things in situations. But we have to recognize that a change is occurring.
The change has come. Has already come.
And I believe that God has taken a lot of these people and have brought them home. And as you say, that forces the mantle to fall
on the next person.
On the next person.
Now look at you got two. Now I believe that there are many leaders, but there's one plan.
Okay.
Because when you look at God centered the children of Israel based on the covenant that he made with Abraham. He promised Abraham that his people was going to possess this land. He says in 400 years or whatever, the fourth generation, they're going to come out. Moses was the man that would be in the fourth generation. Now, if you look at something, what took place in Egypt, you would think it was a pandemic. Because of all of the plagues, all the stuff that happened, that they did not know that there was a God behind all of that was happening, just to get his people out of bondage. So we don't even know the real purpose and the nature of this pandemic. And I say this, just because a person died during the pandemic doesn't mean a judgment call of God.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, everybody has a beginning and everybody has an end.
Yes.
Even if you die from eating cornbread or you die from a virus, death is still death.
Yes, it is.
And precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. So just because in Kojic we lost over 40 pastors, but that doesn't mean that 40 pastors were judged by God.
Exactly.
It could have meant that a couple were, but we don't know.
But think about this here, Pastor Rodney. You were going to lose those 40 pastors anyway because none of us are going to be here forever.
That's what we don't understand. Anything that has a beginning has an ending. That's why there is no beginning to God, because there is no ending. So when you look at something, God took them out. He told one man, I want you to lead them. Now, right before they get to the promised land, it was time for Moses to die. Moses and Joshua had two different types of ministries.
Yes, they did.
Moses put the people on public aid. I know I have a preacher who always disagree with me, but Moses put the people, Moses was on public aid because his mother got paid to take care of him. Come on, somebody.
Come on.
Am I right? Am I in the word?
Okay, I hear you.
So when you look at something, Moses, every time the people got hungry, he fed them. Go ahead.
Okay, you're on the air, caller, you're on the air. Could you give us your name, where you're calling from, and then let us know what you're thinking?
All right, this is Sister Kelly. Hey, Pastor Ray.
Hi, hey.
I call because I just believe that another thing that I have some concern with is that I heard it says that, you know, young people left the church. Most of the big mega church preachers came out of the sanctified church. A thing that I have an issue with the transition of change is that even those young people are not prepared with making the Lord first. And I'm not talking about you wearing your pants or makeup or in this day and age, it seems like people have the mentality that I can still do everything that I used to do and still yet being in tune with God. Not understanding that your emotions can be skewed by the enemy. And they think, okay, I'm hearing from God. I have a problem that not even they that left the church are prepared.
Okay.
Really. Because they have not been taught how to hear the voice of God, how to surrender their lives, and not everything is lost, but making God really first.
Right. Okay. Now, and just hang on there. Let us talk to you a little while. Now, it seems then, if they haven't been taught and they left, and they're out there starting ministries or doing things, so they're obviously in error. Whose fault is it? Where does the blame?
Yeah.
Because we got to fix it, right? So whose fault is it that they haven't been taught?
Listen, I do believe, and this is my opinion.
No, because this is what, hold on just a moment. This
Right.
is exactly why we're here tonight. We want to hear your opinion.
Right, absolutely. I believe the church owe a lot of people an apology.
Okay, explain that. As Ricky Ricardo was saying.
You got some explaining to do.
Explain.
I believe because of our ignorance,
Okay.
and we, unfortunately, we were too prideful to admit that maybe there were some things that we didn't do right.
Bingo.
And
Okay.
I don't believe that, I do not believe that the Lord will leave the leadership of the church ignorant. If you are seeking God and talking to God,
Exactly.
and God, you are God's man, God will never leave you ignorant.
Okay. And you know what?
Therefore,
Go on.
yeah, and therefore, with that being said, we were too prideful to say, hey, you know what, let me apologize to you. Because even though you may feel like you have to go, even though you may feel like I'm going to tell you that we were wrong in this area, I believe that we are partially responsible. I believe a person is, because your love for God will cause you to seek his face. So everybody has to take ownership of your life with God, but the church owes people an apology.
Okay. I thank you for your call, Sister Evangelist Wiley. I thank you for your call. So, Pastor Rodney, why don't you take on it, and why don't you take that? She says she believes that the church owed people an apology.
I believe in this. In the days of old, I believe because of the antiquated teachings that never should have reached our pulpit. For instance, the women wearing this and the wearing the shoes with the toes out. When you look in the Bible days, they didn't have full closed toes. When you look at the women, they talk about wearing pants, but I saw where God told Moses, don't build an altar with steps, because if he went up, they would see his nakedness. How they gonna see his nakedness if he had on pants?
Yeah.
So apparently, I agree to that point that we owe the church, the church owed the people an apology because we were not clear in our understanding. And then we place laws on people. I was at a church, and a lady wanted to join the church. She lived right upstairs, and the pastor says, well, we don't wear fingernail polish. We don't this. He gave her a list of the, you know how.
I know what you're talking about.
And when he finished the list, he asked her, do you still want to join us? She says no, and she sat down.
Yeah.
Now, I almost quit. I should have quit the church that day as well. But see, and then they had a thing that they called you teaching weakness. When you start teaching people the truth and the liberty and the freedom that there is in God, more people would run to the church to want to be saved. But what happens is we give them old antiquated laws. And she's right on that point that the church should. I've even apologized to people, and I wasn't the one who started it. But now that I'm part of the leadership of the church, I still think that the church needs to apologize for some of the teachings that we place on the people.
We have to accept responsibility.
That's right.
That's part of being a leader.
That's right.
Right? If you mess up, you gotta say I messed up.
I messed up.
And I cannot fix it if I don't ever acknowledge
Correct.
that I messed up.
That's right.
But how does that work? Because a lot of the people that I knew growing up, they did the best they could.
Yes.
With the knowledge they had. But as we become more, how would I say it? We've got the Bible at our fingertips.
Yes, sir.
We've got knowledge. And we can do research that they never can do.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to go get the encyclopedia.
Yes, sir.
The World Book. And those you can just boom, 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 boom.
And it's done. While you're preaching.
While you're preaching, you can do that. Right. And so they did the best they could
Correct.
with what they had. Right. We should be able to do better.
Correct.
Every generation should be
better and better.
Every generation should know the voice of God
That's
clearer.
right. That's right.
Every generation should know the will of God better. Every generation should know that. You know, a lot of times, God healed people back then because they didn't go to the doctor. They didn't ignorant it. They didn't believe it.
That's it.
A lot of people dying now from what they was healed in because God
That's
said,
right.
look, I gave you the best surgeon in the world.
That's right.
Right around that off, and you wouldn't go.
That's right. Is there a bomb in Gilead?
you know, and so when we know better, we should do
better. Correct.
Right, but that goes back to change.
Yes.
A lot of times we don't want to do better because to do better, I may not be the person best suited to take you to the next level, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
So yeah, I have to agree. When we look, call in 798. We're going to be here to 8:30. You know, we got about 30 minutes left. 798-9352. Call in, and let us know what you feel. Let us know your thoughts on this matter. But I agree. I have to agree with that, right? Is that a lot of people left the church, and the reason we have so much erroneous teaching is because they wasn't ready.
That's right. That's
They
right.
wasn't ready,
That's right.
But they did not want to sit under what was really being oppressive because the people were not ready and capable or willing to teach. And so we ended up with it where I think there's enough blame to go around for everybody. Right?
Everybody's to be blamed. Yeah.
There's enough blame.
But you know what? The people of old, you know what they had that what we got? The saints of old in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, they had God. We got Greek. We got Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah, we got Strong's Concordance.
At the touch of
And you know what? And I'm not knocking technology, but you know what makes it bad? It's because we click that button while we're preaching. We didn't do nothing while at home to cause us to remember it. So the old folk had to get up and go to the library or had to research it or go through 8 books to find the answer. You're going to remember that answer now, but we got it easy so we can stand here while we're preaching and push a button, give a definition. When that definition is gone, we done forgot what the definition is, and we preaching the sermon.
Right.
So the pillars and the generals of this church, Pastor, they were connected with God.
Okay.
So when you look at the 2 leaders, you had Moses and you had Joshua. It's 2 leaders, but there was one focus, one mission, one aim, and that's to get the people of Israel into the promised land. Now, Joshua was a warrior. Moses wasn't. Moses was a meek man, but the children of Israel needed both leaderships to get them into the promised land.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So God knows, okay, Moses, it's your time to transition. But before you change, or before Israel wake up overnight and there's a new leader, you've got to transition them into change.
Okay.
And that's where we come in at, because we should be transitioning and training and teaching the people for change in their life.
Okay.
And I agree with you. Minimum wage changed. Even my wife changed.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I changed. I'm wearing glasses. I wasn't wearing glasses when I met her. That changed.
That changed.
You know, my shoe size was a size 6. It's a 9.5. That changed.
That changed.
So how come even the presidency changed? How come everything changed but the church? Now, I will agree that when you change, it's okay to, as my Bishop Robert R. Sanders would say, it's okay to change an ingredient. But when you change the main part of the ingredient, it ceased to be what it was.
Okay.
And the church has changed the main ingredients.
Always keep the main thing.
The main thing.
The main thing.
That's it.
Oh, you like we can okay, Sister Gloria Hart, she writes, I know holiness doesn't change, but will there be a change in the way it's taught? Will living a sanctified life become just doing enough to make it to heaven?
Oh, she hard.
Not knowing what really is enough. That's two questions. Let's take the first one. Holiness doesn't change.
Correct.
But will there be a change in the way that it's taught? I think now you just hit up on that, right? Because you got to make sure that you don't take the main ingredients out.
Exactly.
Because then it ceases to be
correct.
You know, if you take the steering wheel and 2 wheels off the car, it ceases to be an automobile.
It's a moped.
It's a moped. So you got to keep that. So but I think if we're going to be successful as leaders,
yes, sir,
we have to change.
That's right.
We have to change the way we teach, right?
That's right.
The way we teach holiness, and the way we teach the Bible, and the way we have to change the way we do it. We have to change our example.
Correct.
We have to change because if we don't change, we're not going to reach this generation.
That's right. That's right.
We're not going to reach this generation. You know, you can't tell people don't pull your cell phone. Don't pull those phones out in church. A large percentage of people are reading the Bible on their phones.
That's
now.
right.
So if you're going to take the position, everybody's always looking at your phone, I'm following with you.
Right.
You know, I don't, just because I don't have a paper Bible doesn't mean it's not the word.
That's right. It's
Right?
still a Bible.
It's still the same word, right? Everybody ain't gonna use the King James.
That's right.
Some people believe that if it's not the King James version,
Then-
it's not the Bible.
Well, they
right?
said Paul, that's the one Paul was reading from.
You know, so yeah, right. yeah, that's what Paul was before King James. Right? Before King James.
That's right.
But in response to our question, holiness doesn't change.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
We have to change the way we teach it.
Correct.
We have to change the way we reach out to people with it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to change, and if the church is going to survive, if the church is going to make it,
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
and that's a real thing, because when I say the church, I'm talking about the real church.
The real one. That's right.
Because you also have an organization or a group that's out there that's not really representing God, but
That's
they're
right.
church, but
That's
they
right.
got the name church, right? If the real church is going to survive, we're going to have to change the way that we teach.
That's right.
Holiness. The
That's right.
way, and when I'm talking about changing the way, I'm not just talking about changing the method that we're using. Like right now, we're streaming on Facebook.
That's right.
And we're streaming on YouTube right now. We got people calling in.
Correct.
From all over the United States.
That's change.
That's change.
That's right.
But we got to do better than that too. We look. One thing that I thank God, and I always go back to Deacon Alexander in my life. Deacon Alexander grew up, and Deacon Alexander sat me down. And he said, Razor, that's what he called me. He said, you have an opportunity that I didn't have.
Wow.
And I said, what? He said, you have an opportunity to acquire an education and then use that education in your study and how you understand God.
Wow.
So he understood, he realized that there were things that he didn't understand.
Right.
Because there were times we would be in Bible class and I would start talking, and some of the old people would shut me down.
Right.
You don't
They don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah.
Deacon Alexander would say, no, let him talk.
Because you were too young.
That I was too young. Deacon Alexander would say, no, let him talk.
Wow.
Let him talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, so he realized. So he said, you have an opportunity to acquire an education. Then use that education in acquiring knowledge of God and understanding of God. You can do that, do that. And I think that's what happens now if the church don't change.
Yeah.
We stand to still. The one thing that has been consistent, if you look at Pew Research studies, is that there has been a migration away.
That's right.
Away from the church.
That's right.
And there have been all kinds of African spirituality that have been introduced. There have been all kinds of other types of things that have been
Yes,
introduced.
sir.
And a lot of it is because of our ignorance
Yes, sir. That's right.
on this side. Our ignorance on this side. Just some explanation. Look, you can call in 312-798-9352. That's 312-798-9352. We will put you on the air. We will put you on air. We're streaming live on Facebook at Voices Rising Up. That's Voices Rising Up. We're streaming live on YouTube at Voices Rising Up. That's Voices Rising Up. Join in the conversation. Join in the conversation. We'll look at some notes here, some comments here. Sister Joan Marie Shuttleworth said, can you please explain why we should fast and the need to fast as we seek God's will? Now that's I'm gonna let you answer that there.
Yeah.
I thought about Jesus said when the bridegroom was here.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what? And that's good because Jesus said, in other words, what he was saying is his disciples didn't need to fast. But remember when he said these kind cometh not out but by fasting and praying, so he must not be talking either about them or about something else, but I'm just going to put that on for another show. Number two, before I get to her statement, which is a very good question, I want to go back to the holiness code.
Okay.
Because when we grew up, the holiness code was a dress code.
Yes, it was.
That's all it was a dress code. We didn't even touch the surface of what holiness was about.
Exactly.
So now the church needs to retrain itself on its proper teaching. years ago in my life, I set myself down, opened up my Bible, and got on my knees. I would study every day for an hour. I was determined to know the Word of God for myself. I got tired of hearing everybody else. And I thank God for that opportunity to be, but that burning desire to do it. Now, when you look at something, one thing about holiness is it is a life that we live, but holiness is also another word for sanctification.
Come on.
But so far, it really has nothing to do with clothes. And I said this the other day, they always say, when in Rome, be as the Romans. No, when in Rome, be holy.
Okay, there you go. Maybe the Romans will get to be holy.
Exactly.
See you be holy.
And that's what the problem with leadership now today is. Leadership says, I need to identify with the young folk in the world. So I'm going to dress down to look like you.
Okay.
My problem is, if you ever run your car off in a ditch and you call AAA, AAA ain't going in the ditch to get you out.
They ain't going in the
AAA gonna stay on a solid foundation, send a winch down there, hook you, and pull you back up to themselves. Why do leadership feel the need to get down there in the hole and to identify? I'm just saying. Part two, the reason why it's so important for us to fast is because fasting breaks the physical, natural, carnal body down and robs it of its daily nutrients so that we can become closer to God. And then the closer we get to God, the more sensitive we become to the voice of God. What was the man who thought he heard Eli's voice, but it was God? What I love about Eli is, the way I can say it,
Come on, that's Samuel.
is he was teaching Samuel how to hear from God.
From God for himself.
For himself.
For himself.
The problem is, many of our young folk are hearing something. Half of them don't know. You may be hearing from God. The other half, you may not. And this is where leadership comes in and say, this is what you do. If it happens again, say whatever, just like Eli. So you're training. We need to be training people how to be more sensitive. So fasting causes us to get closer to God. And the closer we get to God, the more we take on God's nature, the more we know the move of God, and the less we will be worried during this pandemic.
Okay, so fasting breaks us down.
Breaks us down.
Breaks the flesh down. And
Correct.
we know the flesh warring with the spirit.
Spirit, constantly.
So if I can break the flesh down, weaken it, and strengthen the spirit.
Yes, sir.
There's a possibility that I might win this thing.
Yeah, that's it.
There's a possibility. Okay, now, we're going to open up a can of worms here.
Uh-oh.
It had to be,
Another one?
It had to be Sister Regina Sibby to open this here can of worms. We have to also recognize that the passing of the mantle isn't one gender only.
Oh, I saw that. Oh.
There are anointed women in the church.
Oh, let me get my
who are
gun.
qualified to lead, preach, and pastor God's people. One of the biggest things that I can remember growing up.
Yes.
Is that the women could you have a women preacher?
Right.
And could you have a women pastor?
Yep.
Woman pastor?
Yep.
I mean, that was a thing.
Oh, that was they're still talking about it in the national church. And they still have a war, and they have to keep tabling it each time.
And it was a war. It was a war. I mean, and there were women. Look, there were women that were anointed.
Yeah.
There were women that God was moving through, right? But the biggest topic that I can remember growing up, other than the dress code.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the dress code.
Oh, yeah.
That was way up there, right? But other than the dress code, the biggest topic is what were women allowed to do as far as leadership, right?
Right.
So you give the women a title of missionary instead of evangelist, right? And you give them any other title other than a title that implicated leadership.
They always say she was reaching, and they say he was preaching.
He was preaching.
Yeah.
But the Bible said that there's no difference between male, female, Jew, Greek. We're all one in Christ. Now, I know what that scripture means, but I think if you just look at it, God is saying, God is looking at the soul, right? He's looking at the soul. And he uses Deborah just as he used Samson.
Yes, yes.
Right? And he puts a call. He uses Dorcas just as he uses Peter. Right? And so that mantle falls. Now, here is something that just may be an issue. If the mantle, and we see it, if the mantle from the male falls to a female.
Oh, yeah.
Now you looking at hell in your pew.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because you already got people that saying, can't no woman do this.
Right.
And then you already, I mean, we see females pick up for other females. That's natural, right? But when it works where the male follows, and now I'm gonna ask you another question after this, but when it works, then you're actually looking at hell. But I agree with you. There are a lot of women that are anointed. And we should be saying yes. We should be. Now, there are limitations as to what I can do as a male pastor.
Correct.
So the woman also has to understand that there's limitations that she can do
as a female,
as a pastor, as a leader, and as a thing. There female. There's look, when Esther got ready to go into the king, she said, Mordecai.
Yep. He trained her.
You know, I've got Mordecai here with me, right?
Yeah,
and I've got to do these things. And so, but that's a big issue.
It's a big issue. It's still a big issue. It will always be an issue. My problem with issues such as that is we have gotten to be, rather than spirit-led, we're emotional-led. My question to the church, and I've been asking this question for the longest, what does the scripture say? For all of our debates, disagreements, misunderstandings, erroneous teachings, or whatever, everything that we do and say, we should be able to revert back to Scripture to see, because the only way we're going to know anything, go ahead.
Hello, caller, you on there. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and let's hear what you're talking about.
Yes, sir. My name is Brother Mike Wiley. I attend Faith Open Charity Ministries. Host pastor, Elder Henry L. Razor.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I know you guys have moved on, man, but that clothes thing just didn't sit well with me. And I understand that's his opinion. But, you know, the scenarios that he used were completely different and situational. He was saying that pastors feel the need that they have to dress down in order to, to feel like, or in order to relate to young people. And he used the situation of AAA and about how they're not going to come down in the ditch to come and get you. That almost sounded like as if he was saying that dressing a certain way is the equivalent of coming down or coming down to somebody's level. And that's not it. In any situation, and this is just my humble opinion.
This is why we're here tonight, because we want to hear your humble opinion. If anyone else listening, while I let Brother Mike call, Brother Mike finish, I want you all to call 312-798-9352. We may have some more humble opinions. I'm sorry, continue on.
I just think that dressing down doesn't mean that you're coming down to somebody's level. It is important to me, it's important for us to be approachable. One of the biggest problems that the church often has when people come to church is that the preacher and some of the people in the church seem so unattainable. They seem so untouchable. They seem unreachable. And that's why when folks come into church, they feel so uncomfortable. It's hard to relate to people that you don't feel like you got anything in common with. So dressing down and just being comfortable and trying to make somebody feel a little bit more comfortable about the situation, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The reason why AAA wouldn't come down in a ditch, because they know situationally speaking, that wouldn't be the smartest thing to do. And in anything that we do, we have to be smart about it. I'm not saying that we got to go to the brothels and the taverns and the bars to witness to the folks. But just dressing a certain way and being more relatable, I see absolutely nothing wrong.
But I believe that you all are really saying the same thing. Now, in this regard, right, and I'm gonna let Pastor Rodney have some time and talk with you and talk to you too. But I don't think he was saying that it means that it brings down to your level. I think it you know, I will say this again. Every youth service that church have, the pastor comes in wearing plaid pants, striped shirts, and gym shoes.
Yes,
He's
sir.
like, man, I'm with the youth today. No, you with the youth in 1950.
Yeah.
That's the way they dress. The youth today don't dress like that. You know, but you know, he comes and it'd be so funny. You go to youth church, you go to a youth program, and the pastor comes in on youth Sunday. He comes in and he got on some Converse shoes, you know.
Right.
He got on some plaid golf pants, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm with the youth." No. You're not with the youth today. You dress like the youth were when you were a kid, right? But so I don't think that he's saying that it means that you know, I'm not coming down to your level. I believe there has to be clear lines of demarcation, right? Somebody posted here, Pastor Lonnie said you can't dress down in court.
That's
well,
right.
Even if you do, but there's a certain way that you do it, and even like on the job when we would have dress down days. Dress down for the managers was different than dress down for the people that worked for them. You know, it was just totally different. And so if I had come in and dressed like the people that worked for me, they would look at that and say, you know, blah, blah, blah. But so I don't think he's saying that it means that I'm coming down to your level. I think that he's saying that we have to, out of respect, we have to maintain those clear lines of demarcation between the leader and the people that he's leading, so that those levels of respect are maintained. Because if you ever become common, then the level of respect is probably going to suffer because of that. But I'm gonna let you talk to Pastor Rodney with that.
Now, let me say though, if the only thing that separates you, the only thing that makes me respect you is the way that you dress, then I ain't got no respect for you from the jump. Because to me, that it's just like even if when the pastors dress down on Tuesday, and we understand that yes, there has to be a separation between leader and subordinate. Think of how the kids feel when they see their pastor looking like them, and how excited they are to see the pastor dressed like them. They're not thinking, oh, I don't respect this dude because he got on jeans. They're like, hey, the pastor is just like us. The pastor feel, we feel a little bit, there's a kinship now that I have with my pastor that maybe I didn't have before, because he always seemed like he was just so far off. We're so used to putting, and not that y'all shouldn't be, but pastors have always had this mystique that they were untouchable and unreachable. So when a pastor can present himself to a point where it's just like, no, I am human just like you all are. I have this position that the Lord has called me to, and I have a responsibility that you all don't have yet. But but the way a person dresses, I just don't see it. And maybe Pastor Rodney has a different point of view.
Okay, Pastor.
It's a very good point. I'm going to give you four.
I'm going to let him respond to you, Brother Dr. Mike. I'm going to hang up because somebody else may want to call.
No problem. I appreciate y'all time.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And thanks for the call. I got 6 points, but it's going to be less than 3 minutes. There was a young man named Leon at our church, and my dad was working, and my dad was the deacon. This little kid called my father Bill. He called my dad Bill. His mother says to him, Leon, that is not Bill, that's Deacon Jones. No, Mama, that's Bill, because Deacon Jones wears a suit.
Okay.
That's what Leon said. At a very early age, he recognized something ain't looking right with Deacon Jones. He doesn't look like the Deacon Jones who I know. Number two, the key thing is the purpose of your dressing down. Dressing down is not a sin, but the purpose of your dressing down, because if you ask many of the leaders, and I've heard them, this is why I say that, I heard them out of their mouth, said that they're dressing down to identify with the youth, and that's where you are in error. There was a young man at my church, and a minister here can attest to it. He came to me and he says, I want to preach. And I think he's 12 years old. I said, why you want to preach? He said, because I want to sit next to you in the pulpit. You was there when we did for the ministers, and I had everybody to pray for that young man. That's the young man.
Okay.
That following Sunday, Pastor, he came with a suit. He came with a suit and a necktie and asked me to help him tie his tie because he was impressed. He saw something that he wanted to ascend to. Number 3, when the Bulls get through playing basketball in their shorts, when they go to the airport, they have on a 2- and 3-piece suit. Now, why is it that they don't get on the plane with a jersey on, but Pastor Smith gets on the plane with a jersey on? Pastor Smith will stand in the pulpit and preach with his head on backwards, but the Chicago Bulls would get on the plane with a 2-piece, $600, $700 Armani suit. Point number 4 is this. There's this movement called the seeker-sensitive movement, which I always encourage people to Google. The seeker-sensitive movement is what has hit our churches. That's one of the main reasons why many of our pastors are dressing down. The seeker-sensitive movement asked the pastor to come out of his suit, asked him to shift from a 45-minute to a 20-minute sermon, asked him to get out of the pulpit, asked him to change the environment of the church to no longer look like a church, but look like an arena.
Could you hold on, Colin?
Sure.
And just let him finish his points.
Oh, yeah, I want Pastor Rodney to break that down.
We'll get right to it.
Yes, sir. And so what I'm saying is we've got to look at the purpose of what. Now, and lastly, every entity has a dress code. You go to the judge, he has a dress code. The police has a dress code. Everywhere, the doctor has a dress code. The nurse, even the usher on the usher board has a dress code. The choir has a dress code. Chairman of the deacons board has a dress code. Why did the pastor change his dress code?
Okay, caller, you're on the air. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and then let us hear what you have to say.
This is Brother Eddie Phillips again. I was going to leave y'all. So, I was listening to that last call, and I'm going to add something. It may not necessarily touch on everything that I'm lead at the Pastor Rodney, but I'm going to break something down. There's a such thing, when we talk about leadership, we're talking about communication, right? There's a such thing called, what is it, four-sided communication. I'm going to go into the top, I'm going to break the 3 of them down. One of them has to do with the factual. The second has to do with the self-revelation, and the last one has to do with the relationship. A leader must have all 3 of those in order to lead effectively. So how is that important to what the caller said? When you are preaching the Bible, you're preaching the factual. This is God's word. That's what it is, right? And the people who are in the church, the people who are in your flock, are going to listen to God's word. You have to represent that word in the factual. Everything you do has to represent your walk, your reality with God, so that you can lead others to follow God in time. So that's the factual. The self-revelation part is where people go wrong, because that's yourself in the message, right? We see, when you communicate, we can just communicate a signal and it can go clearly. But when we put our own message on top of that signal, or what we're trying to preach, then we lose that connection because we put ourselves in that message. That self-revelation part is huge because that loses a lot of people to leadership. If you dress down, if you look like everybody in the midst, they're not going to have anything to aspire to look to see you as different, to see where we are supposed to go. So that middle part is hugely important. Lastly, when we get down to the relationship part, you can't have a relationship unless you was honest You are pure in your bearing, that you are going to lead properly. Anybody who's married gonna tell you, if I sit there and I lie to my wife every day, then I'm going, and I keep saying things and putting my own ego into it, I'm gonna lose on those first two. And then in the last one, there will be no relationship. So in order to be able to allow a relationship to go and to grow relationship with God, we must understand those three parts of how we communicate as leaders in order to go forward.
Okay,
Now, I'm gonna leave y'all alone because y'all got me on this phone.
Okay, I'm gonna hang you up in case somebody else wanna call, but I wanna talk about that middle part because I fully feel what Mike Wiley is saying though, because I remember I went to his son's school, right? I went to his son's school when they were at the school and they were younger then. And it seemed like they was just so glad that their pastor was there at
Yes.
their school. And I
Yes.
didn't go dressed up as
Oh, I understand
as a
that.
pastor like that there. And so I understand fully what he's saying. I think the middle ground is this, right? Is that if I'm going before people that I don't have a relationship with and that don't know me, all they know is Pastor Razor's coming, I need to appear as Pastor Razor.
Correct.
But when I come to my youth day service,
Yeah.
and they know me, and if I come as Pastor Razor in my best suit, they may say, "Look, this guy
He won't even loosen his tie.
loosen up and be one of us." But if I come and see, if I come though dressed like if I come dressed like the youth. And then they say, "Oh, this pastor," they come
Yeah,
down there,
which is fine.
And I found that, but see,
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that between my daughter-in-law and my wife. When the youth day comes,
They gonna dress you up.
I probably took a lot of flack when we had the opening for the church, and on the youth day, the youth day, they all wore tore jeans
Yeah.
and all the things. And so my wife and my daughter-in-law said, "We're going to get you some jeans, Pastor, and we're going to do this for you, Pastor." And I said, "Yeah, but now, okay, I'll go to jeans.
Right,
but
right,
I
right.
don't need none of them that's torn. I want them fully intact."
Question. Let me ask you a question.
But they did it for me. So I feel what he's saying though,
Yes,
because
I understand.
If I came in here on their youth day and I dress up in suit and all this stuff, they are going to say, "Well, he can't even come, loosen up and have some fun with us,
Right,
and have a
right,
good
right.
time, right?" But if I'm if I'm invited to your church on youth day, I may not want to do that.
Right,
So
right.
what we did, we had speakers for that day that were not part of the church. And so they explained to the speakers that how we're going to be dressed. So if you are comfortable dressing like that,
Right.
then we would like for you to do that.
Sure, sure.
So I think what it's the environment, right? Is that my youth know me and they understand that I'm the pastor.
And a stranger they
I
will not
can come
follow.
in and dress down. But if I was going somewhere new, maybe I wouldn't do that. Yes, sir, Dr. Robert. Look, you can call in 312-798-9352. See 312-798-9352. We got time for maybe one more caller. Yes, Dr. Robert.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a point because I'm not on the clothes. As you can see right now, I don't have on a tuxedo. So all I'm saying is it's the purpose. Many pastors, and I need the audience to understand, I'm going by what these pastors have told me or what they have said, that they're taking their clothes off so that they can identify. I know another pastor who was angry with a whole group of pastors because those group of pastors, when the mayor, the son, Daley, was getting ready to run for mayor, he said he worked the elevator, and these pastors was wearing $600 and $700 and $800 suits. When they finished that Sunday, they mounted their pulpits with jerseys on. He says, "I lost respect for them because you would mount the pulpit to preach for God with a jersey on, but you would go and visit a man who's getting ready to run for mayor with a $600 suit on."
So then it's not then in that instance then it's not really what they was wearing. It's how they prioritize.
That's all I'm
the
saying.
pulpit
Yes, sir.
over the mayor's office.
That's all I'm saying.
It's how they prioritize it the pulpit
Yeah.
over the mayor's office, right? But I mean, look. You invite the mayor to dinner. Jane Byrne had people paying $100 for hot dogs, right? well, come here and eat a hot dog.
Right.
Look, we've enjoyed everyone tonight. We've enjoyed everyone tonight. It's been a great conversation. I want to say to you, the Voices Rising Up is back on the air every first Friday night of the month. Our singles. The singles are going to be, we have the Faith, Hope, and Charity Ministry Singles Group, and they will be on the air, and they will be actually broadcasting their singles ministry. And we're going to start back on Thursday nights, or we're going to start back one night. We're trying to get back. Our pastors talking the issues. You remember we talked the issues, and they was on Monday nights, but we're going to see what night we're going to, so look for that to come back. We're going to have marriage ministries going to come. Look, you can spend the winter with us right here at the Voices Rising Up. Voices Rising Up. You can spend the winter with us. I know they're telling you don't go anywhere. Stay in the house. Well, just turn on the internet and go to voicesrising.up, because we're going to have some programming for you that's going to knock your socks off. That's right. We're going to have some programming. We got engineering training back there, Terrence Timms. And he's back there, did an awesome job engineering here tonight. But we're setting things up, we're getting things going, and Voices Rising Up is on there. Look, can I get one caller? Can somebody out there that can sing? One caller. I need one caller that can sing. If you're listening to me, call in. Today is Pastor Rodney's birthday. I need somebody to call in and just sing happy birthday to him. You know, I can't sing, but this is my friend and my brother. And you know, me and Pastor Rodney go back a lot of years.
Yes, sir. Yes,
First
sir.
jurisdiction
Yes,
go back.
sir.
So if I can get one singer, if you listen to me, one singer, if you just call in and sing happy birthday to him. You know, I'm not going to ask him how old he is.
I'll tell you.
He must be still young.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I'll tell you. But can I get one singer? Can I get one singer? Can anybody out there call? Oh, people are typing in happy birthday. People are.
Make sure they got on the three-piece suit.
Call it. Pastor Larry, sorry, you could have called in. Call in. And can I get one singer? Can I get one singer that will call in and sing happy birthday to him? Come on, I'm just going to give you a few minutes here. Pastor Rodney,
Yes, sir.
talk to us while this singer calls on.
Yes,
They
sir.
probably humming a few bars.
Make sure they're in C flat.
Singer call in and sing happy birthday.
You know, I'm thankful to the Lord for this moment. Yes, today is my birthday. I was born November 11, 1963. Today I made 57 years old. I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm loving God. I thank God for you, Pastor Razor, for your tenacity and for your leadership. I've watched you do a whole lot of things. And actually, I'm going to put you up there with the Trailblazers right now, because I see a lot of things that you're doing. I think it's important for us to have these conversations, these talkings, these pieces, because I think it's important for us to talk to the issue.
Right.
Talk to the issue and get to the nitty-gritty is just as vital and just as important. And then lastly, keeping focused. I never said it was a clothing issue. Because I'm reading these comments, you know, and I never said it was a clothing issue. I just said your purpose for doing what you do is all I said. I only got a lot of pastors upset. I'm gonna need a bodyguard and an attendant and everything else. But
I can get one singer? Come on.
somebody know how to sing.
Somebody gotta be able to sing happy birthday.
Minister Joe could sing.
Somebody can call and sing happy birthday.
Yeah, he could sing. Somebody's calling. Somebody finna sing.
Michael Wiley said, no, don't take it back. But
Oh no, I don't.
it's a hard group.
I'm not fearful. I'm a Jones. I don't step down. But I want you to. Can they rewind this? Is there a rewind? Okay, good. Rewind it and watch it. Nah, rewind it and watch it, and call me later on. Let's talk about it.
Look, I thank you all. I thank everybody for being with us on tonight and for joining the conversation. Look, like I said, look for us. We're going to be announcing, Pastor Larry Sarton and I, we did Pastors Talking the Issues, and and things were going so well, and then we actually left the building over there, and the pandemic hit, and people have been asking, when are you guys coming back? When are you guys coming back? When are you guys coming back? Well, we are coming back, and look like now we're going to come back on a Thursday night because of schedule. So be looking for that announcement and be ready to call in. Look, you can spend. Look, this is Voices Rising Up. This is not Faith, Hope, and Charity Ministry. Our church. This is Voices Rising Up. We want to hear the voices from the community, voices from the America, voices. And so we're going to be talking the issues when we come back. So look, you can spend your winter, your pandemic winter, with Voices Rising Up, that's right? Good. And we're going to bring some more programming in. And put the one thing I like about the pandemic is that it's leveled the playing field.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? Because we have the same audience. We have the ability to reach the same audience that T.D. Jakes does, right? And so we're going to make use of that. We're going to do this. It's Voices Rising Up. And so we're going to bring in other programming. We've got our singles ministries that's coming forth, that Faith, Hope, and Charity singles ministry. We got the marriage ministry that's coming forth. We've got pastors talking in issues that's not part of our ministry. I need to fill in. We had Tech Talk the last time, but the purveyor of that and the host of that, he passed.
Oh, wow.
He and God bless him. Recently, about a month ago, he came down with a form of renal carcinoma.
Oh, wow.
And he passed, right? But we're going to look for something that we will replace Tech Talk with,
sure,
or something in the same vein, right? So you can spend the winter with Voices Rising Up. We're going to have some programming for you. And as always, we want you to get involved. That's why we created the call in, and that's why we set it up so that you can call in. We're going to be adding our headphones. I know when you call in now, there's a little bit of echo because we're listening to you, and then what we're listening to, the speaker comes back to the microphone so you hear it. But once we get our headphones set up, that'll be gone, that'll be done too, and we will be ready to go. Look, we enjoyed everybody, and since you all won't sing happy birthday to my friend, I will sing happy birthday to my friend, right? Joel said no, Pastor. No. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. If you all don't want to hear me sing, I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Somebody 60 seconds to call in and sing. And if you don't call in and sing, then that's going to leave me, and I'm going to have to do it. So the countdown is on 60 seconds. Somebody needs to call in and sing happy birthday to Pastor Rodney. Let's see if anybody going to take the bait. And is anybody going to take the bait? Anybody going to take the bait? Look, and I'll be back next Thursday night. I think I'll be back here. I don't know if I'll be by myself or not, but I see people saying they enjoyed this conversation. They like what's going on. Well, we're going to keep it going, right? We're going to keep it going, and we're going to bring some stuff. Oh, I got somebody that called in. Somebody don't want to hear me sing. Okay, caller, you're on the air.
Pastor, you know I love you, but I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
You're trying to build Voices Rising Up. We ain't trying
All right. But can I say this before you go? Brother Mike and Brother Phil have an awesome show. They do a Man Up Real Talk. And like I said, and I'm proud of them. They do awesome things. I'm gonna try to get them to get a slot here on Voices Rising Up too, and go out, because that's the kind of thing that we want.
Yes, yeah.
That's the kind of thing that we want. We don't want, as a pastor, we don't want to be the ones that's all the time, everything, there's more to the church than just preaching.
That's right.
And all this. We got to reach people.
That's right.
And talk to people. And so look, but even now, go out. I think every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock right now, they have on Facebook Live, Man Up Real Time, and it's a podcast.
Good. Oh,
and
good,
if you're listening to me and you don't go and friend them or follow the Man Up real-time, the Man Up podcast, Mike Wiley and Phil Hines. Go on, Mike. I'm glad you called to rescue your guy.
Yeah, I gotta look out for you. And if you need a pastor for Voices Rising Up, we there. So that ain't no problem. We are the dress down, the CO suit, sir. Real quick, Pastor Jones, happy birthday that I don't leave y'all alone. A 1, a 2, a 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Pastor Jones. Happy birthday to you.
All right. I couldn't have done that.
No, oh, no.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Okay, so hey, we're getting ready to go off the air. I want to thank you. Do I got some music keyed up and ready to go? Come on, let's go with it. We are getting ready to go off the air. We will see you all the next time. From Pastor Rodney, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye. Thank you all. Thank you for this opportunity. I love it.
And look, I'm glad that you are here. We even had a little audience here. Kristen Phillips is
Yes.
So look, everybody, we thank you all for joining and look for us. Look, if you haven't friended Voices Rising Up, go there and send a friend request because we got some stuff coming at you and we're going to come at you hard in the name of the Lord, okay? Thank you, everybody, and we will see you.
Her brother in place of his